Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly show called Encouragement for Your Life. Many of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach, and I help people find their voice and learn to use it. I'm also an excellent conference speaker on the topics of public speaking, how to deal with the media, and crisis communication. Because, friend, it's not if, but when, and you need to be prepared. If your organization is having a conference and you need a dynamic keynote speaker, wow, I'd love to be a part. And you can find me at my website, debsofield.com. I've got a number of books on the market. My book series, Encouragement for Your Life, Tough Love Memos to help you fight your battles and change the world. Those are available on Amazon, as well as my best-selling book, Speak Without Fear, and my latest book, which is called Perfecting Your Platform. Just go to Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, and all my books will appear. I've got a great theme for today, and it's this. Wouldn't it be great if everyone was happy to see you? Yeah, I think it would be amazing. So I'm Deb Sofield. Thanks for spending these next few minutes with me. Let's get started with today's exciting show. Okay, I'll admit that was a very energetic opening, but I've got to say I love my theme for today. Wouldn't it be great if everyone was happy to see you? I mean, really happy to see you every single time you came around. Recently, I saw a photo online of the most adorable little boy who was at an amusement park, where he met someone in a costume who I think was Tinkerbell. Ah, she was beautiful. She looked very kind and sweet as she kneeled down to hug him and speak to him. Oh, you should see the look on his face for his parents' camera. So full of happiness, glee, thrill, elation, excitement, and pure joy. I have to say, when I posted the photo on Facebook a long time ago, I got hundreds of likes because it's a very joyful image. And it got me thinking, how great would it be if every time you and I showed up at an event, people were genuinely glad to see us? As if there was something about us that just made people smile, look forward to our company, or just be happy that we showed up. So the great news is you and I, well, we can become such a person. It doesn't take much. Now, for some, it might be a new view of the old you, but you can become the person that everyone hopes will show up for the dinner, the ball game, the bike ride, or any work event. When you ask most professionals of a certain age, is there a book that changed your life? Many will say the old standard of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now listen, it's an old book. It's been around for a while. In fact, it is one of the first best-selling self-help books ever published. It was written in 1936, and I believe to date it has sold over 30 million copies worldwide, and is still considered the standard for those who want to change their world or how others perceive them. Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, says that billionaire Warren Buffett took the Dale Carnegie course, How to Win Friends and Influence People, when he was 20 years old. And to this day, he has that diploma hanging in his office. Have to admit, I'm not surprised, since these rules are, in a sense, timeless. And friend, if you want to get ahead in life, well, you and I would do well to dust off that old book and put it back into practice for our success. Not only for our personal success, but also our gift of kindness that we show others by becoming a person of goodwill. I admit I've read the book many times, as it's a standard in most speakers' libraries. And as I read it now, although it's somewhat outdated, at least a few of the rules are, I'm reminded that as a speaker and trainer and coach, I have a very serious obligation, and that is to serve those who come to hear me speak. And I really believe that in any line of work, friends, you've got the same obligation. Wikipedia has listed some of the main ideas in the book in a simple outline, and as I was browsing the list, I came upon a few points that I've mentioned before on this show. I think it might be good for some listening today to perhaps master these rules and take this book to heart. Some of my most favorite rules are this. Number 1, be genuinely interested in other people. I love the line. Curious people are seldom boring, and boring people are seldom curious. He goes on to say another one of his top rules is to smile. You can say what you want, but you and I know that a slight smile goes a long way. Not looking for a big, beautiful grin, unless you'd like to, but just a pleasant expression. I think everyone agrees that remembering a person's name is, well, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Another rule is to be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Don't worry, once you start that conversation, most likely they will take the ball and run, and then they'll say how nice it was to talk to you. Another point that he talks about pretty much throughout the book is to talk in terms of the other person's interest. There's nothing more disrespectful than always pushing your agenda and not asking what others would like to talk about or explain or tell you what they're working on. And then probably the most important, which you and I do hopefully every day, is to make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Not too hard to do, but I admit it does take a little practice. I'm drawn to different parts of the book that talk about the ways to handle people for success. Pretty much the standards are don't criticize, condemn, or complain. And the next one is to give honest and sincere appreciation. I love the parts of the book that help sway people to your way of thinking. Now, these are just a few of the timeless ideas that Dale Carnegie came up with over 75 years ago. And if you can remember that far back, well, you know the world was very different then. Let me touch on a few ways to win people to your way of thinking. I love the first one. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Show respect for the other person's opinion. And for Pete's sake, stop saying you're wrong. Nobody likes to hear that. And if you're wrong, admit it quickly and then be done. Always begin in a friendly, open manner. Start with questions to which the other person has the ability to answer yes. The yes technique is something I teach when I work with executives and those running for public office. His next point is very valuable. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. I admit that's hard for me to do, and sometimes I have to say to myself, Deb, be quiet. Let the other person talk. And don't interrupt them with my better story, because this is their time, and I do my best to respect it. This next point is, let the other person feel the idea is his or hers. Unless it's something really serious, it's okay to let somebody else feel good for that 14 seconds of their day. And then try honestly to see things from another person's point of view. So I hope by now that maybe you will dust off that copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie that's probably stuffed in the back of your library at home. And perhaps you'll just, glean through it again for your personal growth and success. Now, with any book that's of this age, some things aren't really relevant to today's environment, but for the most part, it's a really good read. If you'll stay with me in the second half of the show, I have a really good article that I pulled from the New York Times about how to win friends and influence people in today's world. Let me give you a reason to pick up your copy of this book or maybe find it online. There's probably a revised copy from 1981 where they say the new revised edition contains updated language and anecdotes. The revised edition has reduced the number of sections from 6 to 4, and it's eliminated sections on effective business letters and improving marital satisfaction, although they probably should have left those parts in. But let me give you a few more things from the book. I just thought were important. 12 things this book will do for you. Number 1, it will get you out of a mental rut and give you new thoughts, new visions, new ambitions, sort of like my weekly radio show. Number 2, this book will also remind you of the value to make friends quickly and easily, and it gives you ways to do that. They say the book will increase your popularity. I'm not sure about that, but I have to admit I like that one. Number 4, help you win people to your way of thinking. 5, increase your influence, your prestige, and your ability to get things done. Also will tell you to clean up your life and clear out the clutter so you have new space for new ideas. The book goes on to give you ideas on ways to win new clients and new customers, how to increase your earning power, how to make you a better salesperson and a better executive. Gives you some ways to help you handle complaints, avoid arguments, and keep your human contact smooth and pleasant, meaning you need to be nicer. I love number 10. It's supposed to help you be a better speaker, or at least a more entertaining conversationalist. I'll talk more about that in the second half of my show. He goes on to say there are some principles of psychology that are easy for you to apply in your daily contacts and to help you become more enthusiastic among your friends and colleagues, and then help them, in a sense, see the light. All right, so by now I hope you dust off your book. I hope it makes you stop and think about how others view you, and perhaps a few things you ought to consider doing so that when other people see you, they are so full of joy and happiness that you showed up. It just makes their day brighter. All right, I'm Deb Sofield. This is Encouragement for Your Life. I'm talking about the age-old standard book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Stay with me right after the break. I'm going to go through some articles on how the book is valuable even today. Hi, I'm Deb Sofield. If you've ever needed help crafting a presentation for your job or your company, I can help. In today's world, you know how important it is to be able to speak and present well. I'm a national speaker and an executive speech and corporate presentations coach. I can help you craft your message for your success. I'd like to be on your team. I'd like to be your coach. Contact me through my website, debsofield.com. Hi friends, welcome back. I must say I love my theme for today because I think it is so important. Wouldn't it be great if everyone was glad to see you? And I'm talking about the book from Dale Carnegie. I came across a newer version, and the headline is How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. It is by Dale Carnegie and Associates with Brent Cole, found in the New York Times. And the headline is this: Why Carnegie's Advice Still Matters. In 1936, Dale Carnegie made a compelling statement to his readers. He said this, quote, "Dealing with people is probably the biggest problem you face," end of quote. This is the foundation of how to win friends and influence people, and it's still true today. However, developing strategies for dealing with people, we all have to admit it's a bit more complex. Messaging speed is instantaneous. Communication media has multiplied. Networks have expanded beyond borders, industries, and ideologies. Yet, rather than making the principles in this book obsolete, these major changes have made Carnegie's principles more relevant than ever. The author says they represent the foundation of every sound strategy, whether you are marketing a brand, apologizing to your spouse, or pitching to investors. And if you don't begin with the right foundation, it's easy to send the wrong message, to offend, or to fall embarrassingly short of your objective. Precision of communication, insisted the American writer James Thurber, is important, more important than ever. And in our era of hair trigger balances, when a false or misunderstood word may create as much disaster as a sudden thoughtless act. Consider the era of hair-triggered balances in which we live today, more than 50 years after Thurber penned that phrase. You and I know the stakes are high. Amid the amalgamation of media, the distinction is much more difficult. Every word, every nonverbal cue, every silent stare is scrutinized as it has never been before. One wrong move can have great implications. Still, every interaction from your first good morning to your last good night is an opportunity to win friends and influence others in a positive way. Those who succeed daily lead quite successful lives, but this sort of success comes at a philanthropic price that some aren't willing to pay. It's not as simple as being ad-wise or savvy about social media. The art of communication is the language of leadership, said presidential speechwriter James Humes. In other words, people's skills that lead to influence have as much to do with the messenger, a leader in some right, as with a medium. This book will show you how and why this is true, just as it has shown more than 50 million readers around the globe, including world leaders, media luminaries, business icons, and best-selling authors. What we all come to understand is that there is no such thing as a neutral exchange. Hear me, my friends, you leave someone either a little better or a little worse. The best among us leave others a little better with every nod, every inflection, every interface. This one idea embodied daily has significant results. It'll improve your relationships and expand your influence with others. Yes, but it will do so because the daily exercise elicits greater character and compassion from you. Aren't we all moved by altruism? You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming more interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. Carnegie's assertion remains relevant, albeit counterintuitive, because it reminds us of the secret to progress with people is a measure of selflessness swept under the drift of the digital age. We all know we live in an unprecedented era of self-help and self-promotion. We watch YouTube videos that go viral in a matter of weeks and garner a sort of global attention people used to break their backs for years, even decades to obtain. We witness alleged leaks of videos to create overnight celebrities. We watch talking heads and political pundits tear down their competition and elevate their ratings. We are daily tempted to believe that the best public strategy is a mix of gimmick and parody, run through the most virally proficient medium. The temptation is too much for many. But for those who understand the basics of human relations, there's a far better, far more reputable, far more sustainable way to operate. While self-help and self-promotion are not inherently deficient pursuits, problems always arise when the stream of self-actualization is dammed within us. You are 1 in 7.7 billion people. Your progress is not meant for you alone. The sooner you allow this truth to shape your communications decisions, the sooner you will see that the quickest path to professional or personal growth is not in hyping yourself to others, but in sharing yourself with them. No author has presented this path as clearly as Dale Carnegie. Yet perhaps even he could not have imagined how the path to meaningful collaboration would become the autobahn of lasting, lucrative influence today. The headline is The More Than Clever Communication. While the hyper-frequency of our interactions has made proficient people skills more advantageous than ever, influential people must be more than savvy communicators. Communication is simply an outward manifestation of our thoughts, our intentions, and our conclusions about the people around us. You know the verse from the Bible, Luke 6:45. Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. These internal drivers are the primary differentiator between today's leaders and today's relational leeches. The two highest levels of influence are achieved when 1, people follow you because of what you've done for them, and 2, people follow you because of who you are. In other words, the highest levels of influence are reached when generosity and trustworthiness surround your behavior. This is the price of great sustainable impact, whether 2 or 2 million people are involved. Yet, it is only when generosity and trust are communicated artfully and authentically that benefits are mutual. The article goes on to say, because we live in an age when celebrity influence can be borrowed like credit lines and media coverage can be won by the squeaky wheels, it's all the more critical that every communication opportunity that you and I have matter. That every medium we use to be filled with messages that build trust, convey gratitude, and add value to the recipients. The one thing that has not changed since Carnegie's time is that there is still a clear distinction between influence that is borrowed and difficult to sustain, and influence that is earned and is as steady as the Earth's axis. Carnegie was the master of influence that is earned. Are you? Consider a few of his foundational principles. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Talk about others' interest. If you're wrong, admit it. Let others save face. Such principles don't make you a clever conversationalist or a resourceful raconteur. They remind you to consider others' needs before you speak. They encourage you to address difficult subjects honestly and graciously. They prod you to become a kinder, humbler manager, spouse, colleague, salesperson, and parent. Ultimately, they challenge you to gain influence in others' lives, not through showmanship or manipulation, but through a genuine habit of expressing greater respect, empathy, and grace. Your reward? Rich, enduring friendships, trustworthy transactions, compelling leadership, and amidst today's mass of me-ism, a very distinguishing trademark. The original book has been called the best-selling self-help book of all time. From a modern standpoint, this is actually a misnomer. Self-help was not a phrase Carnegie used. It was the moniker assigned to the genre created by the blockbuster success of How to Win Friends. The irony is that Carnegie would not endorse all of today's self-help advice. He extolled action that sprang from genuine interest in others. He taught principles that flowed from an underlying delight in helping others succeed. Were the book recategorized, How to Win Friends would be more appropriately deemed the best-selling soul help book in the world, for it is the sole underpinning of the golden rule that Carnegie extracted so well. The principles herein are more than self-help or self-promotion handles. They are soulful strategies for lasting, lucrative progress in your conversations, your collaborations, your company. The implications are significant. By applying the principles, you will not only become more compelling as a person, with more influence in the lives of others, you will fulfill a philanthropic purpose every single day. Imagine this effect compounded over dozens of daily interactions the digital age affords you. Imagine the effect if dozens of people throughout an organization followed suit. Winning friends and influencing people today is no small matter. On the continuum of opportunities, it is your greatest and most constant occasion to make sustainable progress with others. And what success does not begin with true relationships? I gotta tell you, I love that article. How to Win Friends, Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie and Associates with Brent Cole, as found in the New York Times. I have to admit, I've always loved the book, and now that I've studied it a little bit more, I think there's a lot of reasons that we should put back into practice some of the basic rules that he gave us years ago. In closing, I found an article by Hannah Miller. She's the senior editor of Leaders Media. It talks about the book, and I just want to touch on a few things. It says the timeless lessons above prove most how to win friends is still applicable today. Yet today, Dale Carnegie and Associates released a reimagined modern version of the book. While it certainly provides useful information on navigating influence and persuasion in the digital age, it's really not the same book. Instead of changing content, understanding Carnegie's work in its context helps preserve his personality and wisdom. Nevertheless, there are a few areas modern leaders can improve on when garnering new business ideas and closing the deal. Number 1, focus more on servant leadership and community building. Robert Greenleaf didn't repopularize the idea of servant leadership until the 1970s. And as one of the most powerful, transformative leadership styles, it's important that today's leaders learn more about it. Number 2, stay connected to achieving the company's why in person and online. Simon Sinek began helping leaders learn how to effectively communicate their purpose to customers, clients, and employees. This is something Carnegie touches on, but learning Sinek's strategies helps modern leaders become razor sharp in developing their mission and message. Number 3, use technology as a tool that builds credibility and trust in the digital age. In 1936, a person's word and honor often dictated a deal. But in the age of information, the internet serves as a fact checker. Additionally, websites and social media provide a place for multiple touch points that build trusting communities. I love number 4, develop core values and beliefs. Societal standards have changed considerably since the 1930s. Today's socially conscious companies attract millennials, Generation Z customers, and team members. And number 5, exchange critical feedback that produces a positive outcome. Carnegie taught self-improvement, but tended to move more towards the passive side when it came to voicing criticism. Yet, constructive feedback is an essential part of growth and development, and for this reason, it can't be disregarded. I like that article and just wanted to share with you as we close out the show today. I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope you'll pick up the book. And friend, let's work together as we build a better community. I'm Deb Sofield. This is Encouragement for Your Life. Have a good one, everybody, and I'll see you next week.